Hello, friends. Pastor Sam Dennis here on October, I guess, what is this, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, October the 4th, 2023. And my goodness, time is flying by, isn't it? Listen, I just wanted to give you an update a little bit on what Belinda and I are doing. First of all, for those of you that are still anticipating going with us into Greece this next year and do the Aegean Sea tour, that is on the way, and we are about to put that together. It looks like we're going to have about 35 or 36 rooms on the boat. Many of them are going to be with a window view looking out into the water, and others will have a window view looking inside. But we're going to try to have a window in each of our compartments so that you won't feel so claustrophobic. But by and large, we're going to be seeing those wonderful sites: Ephesus, Patmos, Corinth. We'll probably go by Philippi. We'll look at the island of Crete, and I'll be going through Paul's second journey in the teaching at night. So it's a great tour along the Aegean, very safe tour on a smaller boat. Very good. We'll come out of Athens, and it'll be sometime in October, around October the 8th or 9th, that we'll be doing that. So I want you to mark your calendar. Secondly, I wanted to make you aware that I have been teaching a class each Thursday on afternoons from 12 to 4. And that's for the seminary in P70 in Brazil. I'm teaching it on Baptist history and our heritage, and working out of the book by Leon Macbeth. I had Dr. Leon Macbeth when I was in seminary at Southwestern, and but there's nothing better than this book. It's so voluminous, I couldn't even begin to cover it all. But trying to give these young Baptist pastors a sense of our history and understanding of why we are who we are and what we believe, and how that impacts the work that we do each and every day, even into this century. The P70 movement's been amazing. They actually could teach us some things about mission work. I think we've lost a lot of our missionary zeal in church planting and training up new pastors. I'm afraid that we've become a little more internally looking and more worried about the culture than the gospel itself. The culture, no doubt, is a problem, but sometimes it can cause us to lose our focus, can't it? Which brings me to the last thing I want to say. I was watching, like a lot of you guys, I watch too much cable TV. I try to balance myself with all the views on the different stations so that I'm not totally brainwashed. But I saw a scene the other day that really bothered me. It was a couple who had been attending a wedding and were stabbed to death. He was stabbed to death. And you see this almost every day, something like that, and it just breaks my heart. I see the breakdown, so much so, of our society and civil things going on, and I'm concerned. And here's what I'm concerned about: not just for the life of that individual, though that's horrible, but I'm concerned over the callousness of each of us, and maybe even some of the fear of each one of us, that we would hide our head in the sand and not want to do anything about it. And I got to thinking, what can we do? Well, everybody says vote, go to the polls, and there's no doubt that's important. But I think it is important that in our individual families and lives, we return ourselves to some of the values that we all grew up with, in the way we raise our children, the way we talk, the way we speak about others, the things we value, the things we worship, really. I wonder sometimes about our worship. I wonder if our worship of Christ is really worship of self. Do we really want to worship the Christ who died on Calvary's cross? Do we really want to worship the Christ who met the woman at the well, who healed the blind man, the lame, the one who called out the Pharisees? Do we really want to worship that Christ? And do we really want to follow him and make disciples of him? In order to make disciples, we must first be a disciple. Jesus said to his disciples, those who would follow him, Peter and the others, "Come and I will make you to become fishers of men." What do we see when we walk down the streets? Do we see individuals, or do we see trouble? Do we see a culture in chaos, or do we see individuals who need Christ? Do we live in light of eternity or in light of our pocketbook? All of these are questions we ask every day. So I want to encourage you, just like I have to encourage myself every day, that in the midst of what we're seeing is really tough times, difficult times, that we would be people of the gospel, men and women who cherish the gospel and the truth of Christ more than we cherish other things. The men that I was teaching today, we talked about the atonement. Was it limited or was it for all? Are we particular in our understanding of the atonement or general? Did Christ die for all? I believe his blood was shed for all. Was it effective for all? Only for those who believe. Who are those who believe? Well, those are the elect. Who are the elect? Those who are called. Who are the called? Well, I'm calling out the called. Someone asked me once when I was preaching, I said, I'm calling out the called today. And they said, Pastor, who are the called? I said, did you hear my voice? They said, yes, sir, we did. Then you're the called. I'm calling you out. I'm proclaiming the truth of Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave us his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. I buried my first cousin in Prosper, Texas, or actually Gunter, Texas last Saturday. She was 94. She was a believer. She just wanted a simple graveside service. And at that graveside service in that Texas heat, my goodness, it's still hot, last Saturday. I grabbed the banjo along with my cousin Larry, and we sang the gospel medley, and I preached from 1 Corinthians 15 and John 14. And those who were there heard the gospel and the good news. Afterwards, one of the young men came up to me and said, Pastor Sam, you don't know my life. I'm not sure Jesus can save me. And I said, there's no limit to what Jesus can do. It's like the old song that Stuart Hamlin sang. It is no secret what God can do. For what he's done for others, he can do for you. His pardon is sufficient for all. It's effective for those who come. May God bless you on this day in October of 2023. And may we all remember that Christ and his gospel is everything, even in the midst of our culture and times.